Hey, what's good everybody? It's Jordan Pickle and we got an exciting video ahead of us today. It's one I've been anticipating for a while and one that I'm sure that most of you saw coming. But today we got a first look at the new Ben John's Joola paddle, baby. That's just a little joke for you who have been on this page for a while. You know that this is the first paddle I picked up when I started playing pickleball. I got it on Amazon in a 2-pack for I believe it was $55 to $60 for both, but this paddle helped me out quite a bit. It was a good way to get started, and so this was my last Joola paddle that I had bought. So now we have a new package that has arrived, and I'm very excited to unbox this and give my first thoughts about this paddle. I do want to say really quickly right off the bat that I'm a little disappointed in the packaging. Joola, I wish that if I'm going to pay over $275 for a paddle that you could do a little better than this. It does say Joola Pickleball on it, so that's nice, I guess. You know, it's got some nice coloring here. It says for the champion in you. That's pretty cool. But I mean, it's damaged. It came open, so that might be the USPS's fault. But it also could be poor packaging, and it also, the presentation is just not that good. Bread and Butter is a company that does better presentation. Some other paddles come with paddle covers or a box, so I'd like to see some of that for this price point, but yeah, this isn't great. All that to say, let's look at the paddle. Let's finally open this up. Maybe there's some secrets in here I don't know about. All right, and the answer is no, but that's okay, because we do get the Perseus 16mm Ben John Signature Edition. Now I just said I didn't like the packaging inside, but I do kind of like this cool color cover. It's got a little shiny text, got a picture of Ben looking angry, you know. Some stats on the back here, so you know that's pretty cool. But let's open this up and get a look at the paddle itself. All right, let's get a look. All together now. Ooh-wee. There we go, the Perseus Gen 3 16mm Ben John Signature. Very long name, but you know what? I like it for the most part. I think the accent of color around the edge guard is super nice. I felt the other paddles for the last generation were a little too gray, if that makes sense, with the gray handle and the gray edge guard, so I do appreciate this. We can see here, let's get a close-up here, we got the Ben John's signature, we got the Joola, and then it says their propulsion core. It's the same on both sides. You get a little Joola band here, as well as this information. If you guys haven't seen this, and we'll probably do this later in the video here, but you can tap this with NFC and set up the paddle right away and register it under your Joola account, so you can make claims, you can have it listed so that no one can steal it, and also to authenticate the paddle itself. So all of that is very good to see. My initial reaction on the looks is I actually like it quite a bit. There's a few things I would do differently, I guess. I think there's 1 to 2 too many logos on this. I think it's just kind of busy, especially this propulsion core with the pickleball kind of jetting off. I don't love how that looks. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's not my favorite. I do like the Ben John's logo there, and the Joola is kind of cool. Maybe I would have changed up some of this, maybe small, like shrink that a little bit, move this over here so it's not overlapping, and get rid of this logo. That's kind of what I would do to make this look a little better. And I know that looks are not anything to do with how the paddle performs, but it's something that I care about, so I just thought I would mention my thoughts on those. But other than that, I think it's nice. I think the gradient's cool. Little stripes here on the edge, that's kind of cool. You know, the color is super nice. And I do appreciate that they have multiple colors available for the customer. However, they are linked specifically to the model that you pick, other than the Hyperion, surprisingly having a Ben John's and a Simone Jardine. I don't know if I said her name right, but they have their own colors there of green and blue. I do wish that some of the paddles had multiple color choices, especially like the Tyson McGuffin bean a bright pink. That might not be for everyone, but some people might still want to try the Magnus model out. I really like the Enna Bright paddle, but I wasn't crazy about the yellow on it. So that's another example where I wish there was a couple more color options. But for the most part, I am excited that they at least gave us something other than just a boring black paddle itself. Now, before we get any further in this, let's do some comparisons to this paddle. I think the most relevant would be the gearbox and then the Engage. So here's the gearbox, Pro Power elongated. It is quite a bit heavier, but also remember that I have quite a bit of lead tape on mine personally, and there's a little bit of difference in weight. So let's just show you how those stack up. Keep in mind that this is a much thinner paddle than the 16mm Joola, but that's kind of their shape and form. There's a little more face on the gearbox, as you can clearly see, but the handle length, let me see, it's pretty close. So there shouldn't be too much difference there, and there's a little bit of height, it looks like, on the Joola, but I could be wrong. It could just be how I'm holding them. One thing I do like is you got kind of a nice looking badge on the Joola versus the gearbox just kind of painting that butt cap on. But the one bright side to that is that that doesn't fall off, because I've had my bread and butter butt caps come off. I've had the butt cap for the 11-6-24 come off. So those can be a little hard to keep on. And I hope I'm saying the right term with butt cap there, but you guys know what I mean. So that's kind of how it stacks up. They're very similar, and I'm curious to put these side by side. Now, this is a first look video. I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but I'm anticipating at least a first look and review for this paddle, as well as a comparison with paddles that I feel are in the similar range. And I feel like this paddle has to be included because from what I've heard, these two really do stack up when it comes to power. Another paddle that I know it's had some comparisons to is one of my favorite paddles from last year, the Pursuit MX 6.0, 16mm again. And so let's put those side by side. They should be pretty similar, actually. There we go. So handles look pretty similar again. Face shape is very similar. I think maybe the MX might be a tad wider, but that could just be how I'm lining them up. And it might be a little taller, but it looks pretty similar. So honestly, very, very similar shape. So if you played with this kind of elongated shape by Engage, you're gonna have a pretty familiar experience as far as just swinging everything goes. But I do really like the premium feel of the Joola paddle. I don't think the Engage feels bad by any measure, but just like this kind of shiny looking edge guard is not my favorite. I don't love their graphics. I think it's okay, but not great. And so there's been a couple things I didn't love about it, but I do say that the Joola feels solid, and it does feel really premium, at least right off the bat. One thing I'm noticing, and I don't know if you can hear this, I forget my mic's on me, is this paddle has like a really coarse looking grit face on it, and I can't tell exactly how that's used or if that's typical since I haven't used a lot of Joola paddles in the past, but it does look like it's a thicker weave than you might see on like one of these newer paddles. I know that you see a really thin weave on something like the Double Black Diamond by 6.0 and some of those others, like the Vatic Pro is another one I can think of. So I wonder if this thicker weave does generate more spin, because I did notice that people were saying that the grit was pretty inconsistent on some of these paddles. So I'm curious to see my thoughts on spin once I get a chance at doing that. But just something to note, it really does feel like a gritty surface, at least right off the face. All right, really quick, we're gonna showcase the NFC and do the registration of this paddle. I do really think that this is a cool feature. It's the first paddle I've seen that has done anything like this, so let's see how simple it is to try it. All right, take number 3, we got the phone open, we got the foil and wrapper off, so now we're ready to register this paddle. So tap the phone, there's my beautiful family. We had a pop-up. I did try this earlier and it does not work very well if you tap it higher, so you might need to tap a little lower on the paddle to get it to work, but here we go, we're in. So when I actually tapped it, it said it could not find my paddle, so I don't know if that's because this is pretty early in the process, but it's something to consider that it might not be as straightforward as it says. I was able to write my email down and submit a ticket, so hopefully that will be the next step towards registering this paddle. All right, the last thing I want to do in this first look is just give a little sound test, because I want to hear what it sounds like compared to the Gearbox Pro Power, which is a very muted, kind of dark, deep tone. All right, just for reference, we're going to have an X40 here. And again, this is the Gearbox Pro Power elongated, and let's try and get a good sound out of this. As you can tell, that's like a very deep, almost thocky sound that really changes near the edge. Kind of matters a little bit, not quite as pleasant, but it does allow you to speed up the ball without giving away where you're exactly going or how much power you're using. Now let's compare that to the Perseus and see how that sounds. Oh, interesting. So it is deeper than what you might get from a traditional honeycomb, thermoformed paddle, but it isn't necessarily as deep as the Gearbox. It's almost in the middle, but one thing I'm noticing is also pretty sharp at the beginning there. It's kind of loud, in fact. That's interesting. I wonder if people are going to be mad about this, because they were already mad about how loud paddles were. So if you want a silent paddle or a quieter paddle, this might not be the one for you. But one thing I'm also noticing is that the sweet spot does feel quite a bit better. I feel like when I'm hitting near the edges here, it's twisting quite a bit less than the Gearbox does when I hit it similarly. Obviously, that's not to say that it has a perfect sweet spot by any means, or even a much bigger sweet spot, but it's just something I'm noticing right away. So while this looks pretty similar to some of the other elongated paddles on the market, I know that people are saying that there's a lot of hatred already towards this paddle because of how it might change the game. This paddle is expected to have quite a bit of power beyond the traditional Joola or other mainstream brand paddles available right now outside of the Gearbox Pro Power elongated. And with power changing in the game, people are worried that pickleball might become more boring, as people are less willing to swing fully through the ball and more willing to be on the defensive, knowing that at any moment that power could be returned back to them if an opponent has a similar powered paddle. Now, I'm not here to say whether or not that's right or wrong, but I will tell you my thoughts on this paddle, what I feel I like about it, what I feel I dislike about it, and all of the good and the bad. So come back for the full review. That will happen very soon, but I just wanted to give you a first look, as this is a paddle that I'm very excited to try out, one that I knew I had to get right away, and one that I feel will be used in my paddle testing from here on out. This sets a new benchmark in a lot of ways for what a paddle can do, and it really is the first time we've seen a company as big as Joola attempt something this drastically different. So it's exciting, it is a little bit scary, but it will be, in my opinion, something that moves the sport forward, like it or not. That's all I got today. I'm excited for this review, I'm excited for this paddle, and I'm excited for all of the connections that I've been able to make with you guys in the chat, with your questions. And if you have any of those for me before the review, please leave those. Another thing you can do is like and subscribe to this channel. We are on our way to getting some affiliation through YouTube, and that would just be a blessing and a great way to support me and to support the channel. So if you like the video, please like it. If you didn't like the video, please leave a constructive comment on what I can do better, but also just subscribe so that you can be joined in on the conversation. That being said, I'm excited for this, excited for all of you. We'll see you very, very shortly with a full review. God bless, have a good one.